Welcome to the show, George. I'm really glad to have you on. You're like a digital media expert and you got all this business experience. Would you please let people know about your background and then what you're doing today? And I think we're going to have some fun today.
Absolutely, David. And thank you again for having me on today. I'm really excited about this conversation. There's nothing that gets me more excited to talk about, the HOTH's history and then also what we've done from a team perspective to really, one, make this an awesome work environment, and two, just really get the most out of our team to keep this growth that we're experiencing going. And just a little bit about me. I started at the HOTH about 4 years ago. I started as our support production manager. We only had about 4 team members at that time, doing about, let's call it 250,000 a month in revenue, to where now, fast forward to June 2020, we have 45 team members. We have an 11,000 square foot office, and we're doing about $2 million a month in revenue. So it's been quite the journey, and we've had a lot of fun doing it. So again, thank you for having me on. So just to talk about it a little bit more.
Well, that's great. So for our audience, let them know, what is the HOTH?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an enigma, if you will. The HOTH stands for hit them over the head. We're a SEO and content service provider down here in St. Petersburg, Florida. And what we do predominantly is we help businesses in its most basic forms rank higher in the search engines. And we do that with myriad different ways, just following our SEO strategy. And that's in the form of building content on a website, building content off websites, backlinking, review management, PPC. We just dived into the PPC realm about a year ago. And then about 7 months ago, we acquired a business called FreeUp. It's a freelance marketplace platform where now we're starting to connect our clients with freelancers to accomplish really anything and everything over the internet. So that's really the HOTH in a nutshell. If you have another 6 hours, I can go deep into it, but I don't know if we have that kind of time.
Yeah, I got to be careful, but I am curious. So, I'm a small business guy, and we're interested in SEO. We've dabbled in it, really haven't done anything in it. But what makes your business different from other people who are saying they're doing SEO?
Yeah, I think one is scale. The first thing that comes to mind is we're able to scale very efficiently and effectively. Our early competitive advantage is that we are reseller focused. We basically act as a back office for a lot of different agencies or large to enterprise level businesses who use us as a back office to help fulfill their SEO strategy. And we work with small businesses just like yours, and we can work with the largest enterprise client that you could possibly think of. So scale is number one. Number two is experience. And when I say experience, I mean making sure that we're focused on providing the best service and best deliverable possible for our clients. That's sort of the whole thesis with the HOTH, is we want to make sure we hit our customers over the head with the experience that they have and the results that they gain. And that's how we sort of started off, is an agency that really focused on that one-to-one experience with our clients. Back in the day when you'd go to an agency for SEO or you'd buy SEO products and services on the internet, you wouldn't have any service behind it. There would be no human element. And we wanted to change that. And we surely did over the last few years, for sure.
Now, I'm curious on the experience part. It doesn't like the algorithms change. There's constant challenges of what you guys have to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. Every single day. And that's where the personalization comes in, and making sure that we understand what our clients are really looking for and what they're expecting, and making sure that we can provide them the best strategy possible and course correcting when need be.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then also, I want to go back to what you talked about with the scale, because you chose a business model a lot of people overlook. And that is that you're kind of the back end. You're you're the person behind the curtain, to use Dorothy's, analogy in The Wizard of Oz. So talk to us a little bit about that, on how that helps you grow your business. Because if we go back to your introduction, when you joined the company, it was 250,000 a month. Now you've grown substantially larger, 4 people to 45 people. We've got business people who want to know, how can I grow now? Because this economy is crazy. May not apply to them, but still, this might be good education. Talk about that whole strategy, how that was developed and tested and evolved.
Absolutely. And when it comes down to it, really the point to be made on that is laser focusing on what you're good at. And what we're good at the HOTH is SEO strategy. And we make sure to double down on that and to laser focus in on that. So by being able to do that, we're able to nix all the distractions that are around us, or maybe for lack of a better phrase, sexy things to do as a marketing agency. Because we laser focused on SEO, we were able to really get in the nitty gritty and figure out what works for our clients, what doesn't work for our clients. And then after that, double down on what works and expand that product offering. And so being able to laser focus, I think would be the best piece of advice when it comes to hitting that fast as possible, is really focus on your competitive advantage and use that as a backstop to hold you accountable to anything and everything that you're doing as a business operator.
I've been in business a long time. I've been in sales a long
Mhm.
time also. So I can kind of get a sense on people, and I like people, as I mentioned to you. You don't strike me as
Mhm.
the flim flam type of guy. You strike me as somebody who's sincere. You're a little bit more analytical. You're doing your job. Do you
I
have a
appreciate that.
story? Yeah, well, and I wouldn't say it unless that was my
Mhm.
impression. Do you have a story that helps me understand as a small businessman? And I've been
Mhm.
part of organizations as large as several hundred people, but you can choose what it is, where
Mhm.
someone came in, they were doing something in SEO,
Mhm.
it wasn't fully achieving the results they wanted.
Mhm.
And maybe you guys started one direction, but then you had to course correct, like you said. I,
Mhm.
I'm very interested in this just because, quite frankly, I view marketing as one of the deep holes where you can waste more money as a business
Mhm.
person when you don't
Sure.
spend it wisely.
Mhm.
So if you got an example or two, I'd be very interested.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, we see that every single day. Exactly. Marketing spend or marketing budget could be this dark, deep hole that you just throw money in and it never comes back. Or it could be the best money you ever spend because it's going to significantly grow your business. And so,
Yeah.
for instance, a great story that I have on how we course correct for clients and how that's helped evolve our product suite is we have a product called HOTH Blogger, which is a managed blog post service. Real original name, of course, but HOTH Blogger, we basically write blog posts and manage our clients' blogs on their websites. Half of our SEO strategy is based around content and content on site for a client. And so we had this client who loved our blog posts, loved the strategy that we had, but it got to a point where after a few hundred blog posts that we wrote for this client, the results weren't really sticking, and some of the topics we were bringing up kind of almost talked about the same thing that we wrote about maybe a year and a half previous. And so it was time to really up the quality of the blogs that we were writing for this client, not just from a standpoint of making sure our deliverables are original each and every month, but also from a strategy standpoint. We needed to make sure we were writing content that was aligned with what the client was really specialized in. And so that's when we came up with another iteration of HOTH Blogger called HOTH Blogger Pro. Again, a very original name. But with that, we found niche writers that were almost experts in their field. And specifically to this one client, we found an expert in that field for the client that wrote for us on our freelancer team. We paired that freelance writer with this client, and from there they were able to write expert level content that's even more expert than the content they were getting in Blogger. And from there, we were able to expand that offering to now we offer Blogger Pro to really any and all industries. So really, to make this a lot more concise is we needed to sort of go up channel on the quality of content that we were providing, because that's what the client needed after really fulfilling a full strategy with our most basic content offering. I hope that sort of draws the picture for you.
Well, it does, in that you went in, you did some work, it was successful, you built that for a period of time,
Mhm.
things changed, whatever, and so you needed to make a change. How often do you find that people should be posting the blog? So you have this where the client's actually
Mhm.
not doing the writing. Are the clients
Correct.
choosing the topics, or are your writers choosing that topics? And then how often are those posts being made? Or,
Yeah.
how often are they written and posted?
Absolutely. Now, our blogger process, excuse me, can be you as a client, you can be as involved as you like, or just have us do all of it. And we're happy to do either one. But we have freelance topic creators, freelance writers, and then freelance copy editors that basically own the entire process of being able to provide a client a blog post. And so, what we do is we have topic creators create the topic, supply it to the client. The client can then approve and reject it. If it's approved, it goes into a writing queue. If it gets rejected, the topic creator gets it back and makes any necessary changes that the client would like to see. But once that enters our writing queue, then the writer writes the content, whether it's 500 words all the way up to 2,000 words is our highest offering right now. We're actually about to expand that. But after that, then it goes to our freelance copy editor, that's in and then supplied to the client. If the client approves it, we can then post it to the client's WordPress. If they don't have a WordPress, we can just provide the asset to the client and they can post it. And then if they reject it and need edits, we're happy to make as many edits as the client needs. Now, how many of those does a client need really depends on the industry and depends on the strategy to execute. If the client is purchasing this a la carte, sort of our wholesale offering, if you will, that's totally up to them. Now, we do have a managed service at the HOTH. It's called HOTH, where it's basically a set it and forget it for any and all of our products in our product suite. And with our blog posts, we recommend that you post multiple blogs per month, no matter what industry. I like to, for me personally, I like to post at least 2 blogs per month. Some industries need more. Some industries might need less, but 2 per month, that's going to be able to show Google or any other search engines that you know what you're talking about, especially if the content's relevant. You know what you're talking about. You know that you need to get it out in a consistent manner, and that you have velocity and showing your users that you're an expert in what you're talking about.
And are there times where it's more of a hybrid style where the client is saying, these are the things I want to cover, and then your editors, writers, whatever, are also coming up with ideas, and then it's kind of like a copy room or whatever. There's a decision on which ones are going to be done and what the schedule is, type of thing.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. And we handle that all on our end. And the way we've actually set it up pretty perfectly. The way this works, and just to go into a little tiny story, is all of our writers, whether they're topic creators, writers, copy editors, etc., they're all freelance. They're all remote. We've been able to scale very quickly, utilizing that remote freelancer team to do these pieces of content on a per project basis. We like to call it the Uber of digital content, if you will. And so with that, the client can be as involved as they like, or just have us do it for them, and they can make suggestions. They can give any amount of edits that they'd like. They can course correct and give us a brand new angle they'd like to take. They can give us what kind of English they want to use. If we have clients in the UK, so we can supply Queen's English versus American English, excuse me. And so to answer your question, yes, there's so many different facets a client can utilize to get really whatever they want from a content perspective.
And with your clients, about what percentage your people are writing the post? Do they put their name on it? Do they put their company name on it? Does your writer put their name on it? Who gets credit in the post?
Yeah, that's up to the client. We do have some clients who work directly with our content providers, our writers, and they'll give the writer a byline. But most of the time, the vast majority of the time, we're supplying that content as really just an asset. We're doing an exchange of an asset, and once we give that content to a client, it's theirs. They can put their name on it if they'd like. They can leave it blank. That's up to them.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, one thing struck me as I looked at your site. Now, this is the only question that you may say, "Uh-oh, you're in trouble." But so you use a term, and your HOTH, just for the audience, correct me if I'm wrong. H, if I remember, it's a capital H, lowercase o, capital T, capital H. Is that what it is?
We go the full uppercase all the way.
Full uppercase. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And it stands for hit them over the head again. We want to
hit them over the head. Yeah. So
yes,
so that's great. But you used a term earlier in your copy that was, you want to like bludgeon your client. I thought bludgeon. Yeah. I mean, I know a teenager who's really into murder mysteries, but I don't know whether she'd ever use bludgeon as a way to talk about how she wants to relate to somebody. So can you, if that raised anybody else's eyebrow, could you please explain the use of the choice of that term?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little violent, and it's something we're not stepping away from. We want to make sure our clients know that when they come on board with us and hire us as their SEO and content provider, It's we're going to make sure we can hit every single communication point with them. We can make sure we follow up as much as possible with them. We can make sure we exceed expectations. And so when we use the term bludgeon with awesomeness, it's just making sure that we can provide the imagery to the client that we're going to almost annoy you when it comes to service. But that's because we want to make sure that we exceed expectation at every single step. And like I said, within our industry, that service aspect is truly one that needs a lot of help. And so we want to be that market leader in being able to provide the best experience possible. And our logo, as you can see, has a little bam bam stick, if you will. And so we like to have a little bit of fun with him. So he's the Hoth monster. He's going to bludgeon you with awesomeness. He's going to make sure you know that he's here for you no matter what.
Yeah, and I think you put that very nicely, that when it comes to service in your industry that needs a little bit of work, or whatever phrase that's a nice way to put it. This is very interesting for me. So can you give the audience, so for me, I'm pretty practical. One of the things I'm thinking, wow, this sounds really cool. This would be something to consider. So can you give the audience an idea? First of all, give them your website address. We'll give it at the end anyway. But also, what are the packages and what do they typically cost? So people are starting to think, this sounds interesting. I wonder if we have the budget for it. What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's just thehoth.com, THEHOTH.com. Everyone can sign up for a free account. We have a lot of different free resources and tools via our blog or any of our free tools that you can use that are basically just SEO analytic tools. But really what it comes down to is we have two parts of the platform that a user could use. You have the a la carte offering, of which I mentioned earlier, which you have access to all of our products in our product suite. I think we're at about 16 or 17 now. And you can order one-offs. You can order a whole bunch up front, depending on what our promotion is for the month. Or you can go down our monthly managed option, where we basically do it for you for whatever your website or your client's website needs. And that's where the majority of our business is coming from, is that monthly managed side called HOTHX. And so, we have folks on HOTHX that are spending anywhere from $500 a month to $50,000 a month. We have folks on the a la carte side that are spending anywhere from $60 a month all the way up to $100,000 a month. And so what it comes down to is what are the needs of your business? And then if you're an agency that's reselling our services, what are the needs of your clients? And so hopefully that kind of paints a picture that we can work with any industry, any website at any budget. And while the results, may not be exactly what you're expecting, if you're coming in with maybe $100 a month budget, we're still going to be able to set you up for success for the future. If you do come to us with a $100 a month budget, we're going to tell you how long we think it's going to take for you to get the rankings you expect, what deliverables you're going to get, and then we're going to exceed expectations on those deliverables, and then hopefully beat the timeline that we set for you. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, but my Scottish blood is boiling. So I'm wondering what's a realistic budget if you want to take, so, I mean, we do blog posts. We haven't been as aggressive with our blog posts recently. We certainly do these podcasts weekly or even more than once a week and get those out there. And what's a reasonable budget for a small business that really wants to significantly grow their audience? I mean,
that's a great question. We find a lot of small to medium sized businesses start at that $500 to $1,000 mark. How am I going to put this? Predominantly our HOTHX offering, our typical spend is usually about $1,000 a month. Average is about 800, which is right between 500 and 1,000, especially for a small business. And what we do with small businesses, first we take a look at your website. We take a look at the content you have on your website, the web copy, the blog posts, your About Us page if you're a local business. We take a look at your Google My Business page to make sure that matches the address on your website. And then from there, we start building assets. We start linking to your website. We start building content on your website. And so to answer your question, it's anywhere from 500 to 1,000, and it really again depends on the niche. And I hate never being able to give a straight answer, and I hate always starting with "it depends."
Well, no, I understand.
Really, what it comes down to is that it depends on the niche.
It's all variable.
500 to 1,000, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be variable. And it depends on how fast you want to grow, how big you want to do, the whole thing. That makes perfect sense. I was intrigued also by another thing in your information where you said to one topic you like to talk about is digital hiring. So I teach hiring. I have a Hire the Best system that I think is humbly, I think is the best system out there for entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
And so I'm really curious, when you talk about or mention that you like to discuss digital hiring,
Mhm.
what's on your mind? What have you found that's worked that people are overlooking?
Wow. How much time do we have left? Because I love this subject. So here's what I like about recruiting overall, whether it's in office or digital, and really it's more transition to digital for us. Is letting your culture be your ultimate recruiting tool. I just wrote a blog post about this on our website. We just landed on the best place to work list for INC magazine or Inc magazine, excuse me. And so really, this is one of my passion projects is being able to scale our recruiting efforts now for our clients. We've done it really well at the HOTH. Now we're trying to do it with our clients via the business we acquired back in November 2019, FreeUp, which is the freelance marketplace platform. And so what we've done is we've basically taken our strategy for how we hire our W-2 team members from the HOTH, which is via an applicant tracking system, one of the hiring managers that we have here at the HOTH, the interview process, and then the onboarding. We're now taking that infrastructure and using it for FreeUp to make sure that we can onboard the best freelancers possible for our clients. And so really what it comes down to is, like I said at the beginning of this question, is hiring, I'm sorry, not hiring, recruiting with your culture. Because if you do that, you're going to save a lot of money. And I like to, when I talk about this, I like to talk as an operations person. I'm selfish, and I like to talk about the cost savings that come with recruiting via your culture.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Too many times we find recruiters, and I'm sure you've definitely experienced it, your listeners have experienced it, but recruiters that reach out that have candidates, myriad candidates in every single area of what your business needs, and come to find out the cost of that's going to be 25 to 35% of their first year salary just for a candidate. When I found that out, this is about 4 years ago, I blew my mind. How is this possible? It's a great business model, number one. But number two, I took that as a challenge to try to beat that. And from the HOTH perspective of the last, let's call it 3 years, and now FreeUp as well, the only money we've spent on recruiting is our applicant tracking system. So basically our CRM for recruiting. We haven't spent a dime on any ads, and yet we're right above, I think, 7,500 active applications in our applicant tracking system. And that's just for the HOTH. That's not even the FreeUp side. So yeah, to answer your question, I'm getting long-winded, is recruiting through your culture is so important. And if you don't know how to recruit from your culture, I think it's time to take a look at your culture.
Well, let's talk about that,
up.
because recruiting
Sure.
from your culture is this broad term.
Mhm.
Okay, so put some meat on that for me. Give me some
Yeah,
detail.
absolutely.
What does that mean? And one of the things
Yeah.
I emphasize with people is you've got to be careful up front. I actually
Mhm.
say, I hate to put you on the spot. Actually, I enjoy putting you on the spot. What
I
do you
love
think
it.
is the number one objective that I would recommend when
Mhm.
you're hiring?
The number one objective that you would recommend, that's hard because I have my own personal convictions on this one.
Well, you can say
Making
your own, and then you could
Yeah,
guess mine.
I think mine is I hire the person rather than the position. If they fit the position, great. But if the person doesn't align with the company ideals or within that management structure, it's never going to work, and you're wasting your time. For you, it's hopefully making sure that who you're hiring for fits the needs of the business. Am I close?
Well, you're correct on both of them.
Okay.
However, what I say is the number one
Mhm.
thing is to protect your time.
Okay.
In
Wonderful.
every hiring process, your number one objective has to be protect your time. So that
Mhm.
means you are doing the hard work up front
Mhm.
to really see, is this person a match?
Mhm.
And when you receive a resume, you have a systematic way to look at a resume. When
Mhm.
you look at them online, before you spend any time talking to
Mhm.
them, you're looking for specific things, and you're going to be not emotionally saying, oh, this person might work, and overlook
Mhm.
stuff. You're going to look at when there's a yellow flag or a red flag and go, oh, not a culture match, like you said.
Mhm.
And those in the initial phone screen. So I recommend there's a phone screen, because once again, you're trying to save time.
Mhm.
So you do an initial phone screen and you ask the hard questions. What are your compensation needs?
Mhm.
Okay, get it out up front. If they want $120,000 and your budget's 60, you're not going to get them. So why
Yeah.
spend any time?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And
I like that
ask.
that thought process a lot.
Yeah, and then you ask, are you in the process of talking with any other companies? And
Mhm.
at what stage are you? Because
Mhm.
if they already got an offer, or they're 2 days from getting an offer,
Mhm.
you don't need to start the process. You say, well, contact me if that doesn't work out. Maybe we'll have a conversation.
Yeah, I'm going to steal that one from you. I love that. Is make sure you focus on your time first to help make the process more efficient. Because it's not only more efficient for you, it's more efficient for the candidate as well. You don't want to waste their time.
Exactly, exactly. And
I
we don't talk
love
about
that.
that much. And really,
Hmm.
if we get the wrong candidate, even
Hmm.
tying them up in the hiring process, or particularly if we hire them, we've stopped them from considering another opportunity that might have been their dream job, or at
Yeah,
least a better match.
yeah,
And
that's
yet,
really profound.
2 weeks, 2 months, whatever time frame later, we're letting them go because it just didn't work out.
Hmm.
But it was our fault
Yep.
because we hired them, we managed them, we developed them, and we
Hmm.
retained them when
Hmm.
we shouldn't have. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm talking too much. But
No, I love that. What you just said about the accountability portion of if a candidate doesn't work out, and that's something that I try to drive with not only our team but my peers and other businesses as well. When we talk about talent that doesn't work out, it's typically not the candidate's fault or the employee's fault. It's you got to take a look at yourself as the manager or as the business operator and on what you did wrong to set your team member up for failure. I think when a team member fails or a candidate or new candidate fails in employment, it's solely on the business, and the business has to take a deep look at what they're doing and how they can course correct it so it never happens again. I love what you just said there.
yeah, yeah. And there was, I forget what the company was. I just read it recently that reinforced this belief. And the company had a massive turnaround because they got a new CEO.
Hmm.
And what was happening before was the company was firing, line level people
Hmm.
when things went wrong. And the
Hmm.
new CEO came in. I wish I could remember who it was in the company. And the new CEO said, "Whoa, wait a minute. What have you done to make this person successful?"
Hmm.
And just changing culture, right? You're all about
Hmm.
culture, changing culture,
Oh yeah.
and started driving this
Hmm.
where every manager's primary responsibility was to make their people successful.
Hmm.
And the whole company turned around, changed the way they hired, changed the way they managed. The
Hmm.
turnover rate dropped significantly. You're still going to have some
Hmm.
turnover, but it just totally changed it. So, how do you go about connecting the culture with a candidate when you're going through this digital hiring process?
It's a great question. We have a physical culture document that the HOTH utilizes. FreeUp has their own as well, and we hold ourselves accountable to asking questions that sort of pull answers out of the candidate that we could compare towards our culture. And so the questions that we ask are all culture are mostly culture based. Again, we hire position or person over the position as much as possible. And from those answers, we can then deduce whether this person is going to be a culture fit or not. And our culture document, it's nothing grandiose. It's very simple. It's communication and accountability focused. And if we can ask questions that drive those culture answers, we can figure out who this person is very quickly and if they're going to fit into a sort of our puzzle, if you will. I like to take the strategy of when I build a team, whether they're remote, whether they're in house, or on the free upside when we bring in freelancers, it's a puzzle. There you can't hire a whole bunch of A+ players, and you can't bring on top everyone that's top dollar. You'll run out of money very quickly, but you can fill those puzzle pieces, and that's sort of the strategy that we take when it comes to in-person and online hiring.
What are some of your favorite culture questions that you ask candidates?
I just started asking this one actually. One of my HR buddies, he runs a recruiting firm over in Tampa. He told me to start asking, why wouldn't we hire you? And I never thought of asking, because it's always, why would we hire? Let's talk about your strengths. And I've gotten some really interesting answers of why we wouldn't hire you, which shows accountability for me.
Yeah.
You get accountability answers very quickly on that one. And that's coming in handy very quickly when it comes to talking about accountability or starting the conversation on accountability in an interview. Another one I like a lot is, at the HOTH, we're all about feedback. A big part of our culture is communication and feedback. And so I always ask the question of, tell me about a time when you've had to challenge upward to either your manager or your peer's manager, and how you got your point across and what the outcome of that was. And that usually has the candidate take a little bit of time to make sure that they answer in a very eloquent way. But those are some of my favorites.
I have a similar objective with one of my
Hmm.
questions. I say, okay, you're part of a four-person team.
Hmm.
You're not a manager, you're not the team lead, you're just a peer on the team.
Hmm.
And three of you are working very hard. One person is not working hard, and without that person's contribution, you will not finish the project on time.
Hmm.
What do you do? What answer do you think I'm looking for?
Step up and hold them accountable, peer accountability.
Okay, not bad. That's reasonable.
Hmm.
I like a little more detail.
Hmm.
So what I'm looking for is an old process, three-step process. Actually,
Hmm.
Jesus taught it thousands of years ago.
Hmm.
I say where the person says, okay, well, the first thing I do is I meet one-on-one
Hmm.
in private, say, hey, what's going on? How can I help you? You know, if you don't do this, we're not going to finish,
Hmm.
blah, blah. If that doesn't work, you bring the other members of the team, have a
Hmm.
similar conversation. If that doesn't work, you escalate to management. The funny thing
I
is,
like that.
particularly with young people,
Hmm.
I'll get somebody will say, oh, well, I just work extra until, I just take it on because we can't be late. But that's not
Hmm.
scalable. And it
Hmm.
doesn't deal with the problem. It shows that, the question really shows me, okay, what type of people skills
Hmm.
does this candidate have?
Hmm.
Because what are they
Yeah.
going to do when something goes wrong, which is kind of what you were talking about. I
Hmm.
love posing
Absolutely.
scenario-based questions.
Yeah, that we do a lot of recruiting out of the university setting, and we ask that same thing, but just in a different way. Of tell me about your last group project and what happened. And
Yeah.
typically, it always comes up. There's one or two people in that group project that didn't carry their weight, and then we get that relevant past experience on how that individual or that candidate was able to connect the dots and either be the leader, or if they're not the leader, how they can sort of push that project forward for whatever outcome they were looking for. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
How do you get a sense when you're interviewing somebody and they're missing a soft skill, like in that case,
Hmm.
I'm just going to plow through or whatever. They're
Hmm.
missing a soft skill. How do you get a sense for whether you're going to be able to train that person on that soft skill or other soft skills or not?
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is how the candidate talks through what they learned. That's a big part for me. Is if I've identified that I can teach someone, it's typically after they've told me about a relevant past experience of something that they've learned and how they put that to practice. And if I can pull that out of them, either through their answer or through some follow up questions when I press, if I can pull that out of them, I know I can teach them anything. And that's really what we're looking for when it comes to entry level roles. Is how willing are you to update your mind and learn something different, whether it's a skill, whether it's digital marketing, whether it's partnerships or peer accountability. And then how can you act on that? Because if you say you can learn everything, but you don't show me any execution in your past experience, I'm not going to think you learned anything. And so that's to answer your question. I look for that execution piece. And once I have that, I know I can do a lot with that.
Yeah, it's pretty rare,
Hmm.
but there are some times where I'm interviewing someone and they're using fillers a lot.
Hmm.
Whatever it is. And if that's going on for like 10 minutes and I'm doing a 45-minute to an hour long interview, I do a lot of them remotely for clients. Clients
Hmm.
hire me to do it because I don't have emotion in the game. I'm not
Hmm.
trying to fill the seat. So we have a talent
Hmm.
assessment we test their behaviors
Hmm.
and their motivators or driving forces and then their soft skills. And
Hmm.
then I do the interview. It's been interesting for me at times. I will very rarely, but I will say, you're saying or a lot. It,
Hmm.
I'm wondering if you could maybe not do that quite as often or stop, and then see whether they change.
Hmm.
I've had people not change. Another interesting thing is someone in an interview will say, "Well, to be honest," and I'll say, "By the way, can I give you a piece of advice?" Zig Ziglar taught that you never say to be honest because it means you were not honest somewhere else. Instead, he said to be candid. What do you think about that? And
Hmm.
if they say, oh, yeah, that's pretty good, then I'll watch and see whether they
If
pick
they
it
do it
up
again.
in the interview.
That's beautiful. I'm going to steal that one. That's gorgeous. So what you just said, that example of to be honest, and I'll get back to the ums because I have a funny story with that. My CEO, Mark, personal mentor, Mark Hardgrove, he brought me out to lunch probably 4 years ago, right when I got hired. We had a probably one of the life defining conversations I've ever had. And I did the same thing. I was nervous and I would always start with, well, to be honest, Mark, dot, 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 or to be honest, whatever. And he looked at me and he said, George, if you ever tell me that again or start a sentence with to be honest, I'm going to think you're lying when you don't say that. And I'm like, that's pretty good. And so that's what we tell the rest of the team. And so I love that, use that example. And then with ums and likes, we had a problem with that here at we have a young team. It's natural. I have a lot of likes or ums. We bought our managers clickers, like the umpire clickers or whatever. And when we started having town halls or presentations with our team, you'd always hear someone, the presenter would say, and then in the background, you'd hear someone go like that. And the behavior stopped. I mean, we still have it here and there, but the overall behavior went away. So the examples you just gave very much resonate with me, and I love that. I'm going to learn a lot from that. So thank you.
Well, I like the fact that the way you did the clicker, it was for fun.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't to get. It reminds me of an office who they were very concerned because the people in the office were pigs. It was just terrible. And so they decided to use a negative reinforcement where they got a pig, a stuffed pig or something like that. And if you had the dirtiest cubicle, you got the pig as an encouragement to clean up your cubicle. What happened was, though, it backfired. It became a joke among everybody. So they competed to have the messiest cubicle so they could get the pig.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I was love the story.
That's funny.
Anyway, it sounds like you and I need to get back together again and talk more about hiring.
I think so.
Yeah. But I think we should wrap up for the audience right now. This has been a great conversation, George. I do want to, and I am sincere, we can schedule maybe something later in the year. Come back. Let's just talk hiring and dive deeper. It'd be great. Yeah. And any last advice that you would have for entrepreneurs out there? And also, if they want to learn more about you, your company, where would they go?
Yeah. So for entrepreneurs out there, if you're going to start a business or you're thinking about diving, face first into your next idea, now's the time to do it. It's never been a better time. And it's advice. Scary. You just never know what's, especially now with coronavirus, social justice issues, and everything that's going on in the world. If you're going to take the leap, if you're going to, take the risk, now is the time to do it. Invest in yourself. And invest in whatever you're doing. Hopefully it helps the world as well. Hopefully it helps the world hopefully it helps make the world a better place. So that's my little spiel about that. And then for me, you can reach me at thehoth.com. You can create a free account there. Like I said, we have a lot of free tools, blog posts to really get your campaign started. Whether you use us or not, we teach our clients how to do everything we do from A to Z. You just go on our blog and we'll teach you how to do everything. If you don't have that kind of time, we can do it for you. And then me personally, my email is george@thehoth.com. It goes straight to my phone. It's sitting right next to me. I'm on LinkedIn as well, George Papadeas. And I'm happy to talk to you again, David. I agree, this has been phenomenal. And if any of your users have any feedback for me or any questions, I'm available 24/7.
Fabulous. Thanks, George. Thanks to our audience, and look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you very much for having me.